in terms of formulations of the vaccines that are specific to this particular country or this particular region. In doing that discovery, we have to be able to be cognizant of the particular strains or the pathogens that are in this country or in Africa. So it also involves the issue of what is called genotyping or molecular epidemiology, to do surveillance on the types of viruses, on the types of bacteria, because you have to, when you're doing formulation, you have to be able really to do it that actually is effective and it goes, or it's going to be effective based on the particular pathogen that we have in the country. The other thing that we are very good at, or we are doing as part of R&D, is the issue of clinical trials. When we have already have these particular vaccines, we have to be able to have clinical trial platform to test and see if they are really working. In KEMRI, we have around more than 21 sites for doing the clinical trials. So this is the area that we really come up in supporting not only that formulation, not only in terms of genotyping or surveillance, but also doing the clinical trials. The other is also issue of pharmacovigilance. The moment that we have these particular vaccines and we have partners are working with it, about Kenya Biovacs. So when it's in the market, you also have to have pharmacovigilance, be able to see it's working. And is it supposed to be doing what it's supposed to do? So in terms of monitoring and evaluation. Then we have the issue of also community engagement. As you have heard from the presentations, it's a very strong part that you could be able to produce a vaccine, but then afterwards the communities may not be receptive towards that vaccine. So we really work so much also on areas of community development so that we can be able to have an acceptance of these vaccines. What we have, the platforms we have to support us in this is number one, that our laboratory systems is very, very much specialized, all the way from Kilifi to Busia, very good laboratory framework. Number two is the high specialized scientists that we have in KEMRI. We have more than 400 scientists who are really working, and majority of them are working on the area of vaccines. The other issue also we have in KEMRI is training. We have a graduate school that we are working on, and actually we are getting a charter soon. So we train a very high-level scientists to be able to be involved in this particular area of manufacturing.
Science and innovation is one of the things that can be very transformative for our socio-economic development. If you think about specifically for vaccines, I think it's fair to say that development of vaccines is probably one of the best innovation that has ever been made by humankind. There's a reason why we have 8 billion people in this planet. It's because we survive because there are innovations like vaccines. I think for some of you who are, well, mothers, young mothers, I think the first thing you do for the first year is that you take your child for vaccination. And many of you, you don't hesitate to do that. You know, your child needs measles vaccine or DPT or whatever other vaccines that you get from the clinics when you take your children. That means we have faith in how our own lives actually can be saved from vaccines. But the other flip side of that, of course, is that we are suffering from a lot of conspiracies around vaccines. Now, that is something that I think that collectively, as institutions and as partners sitting here, can work collectively to bring the right messages, particularly to the general public, about this. But the other thing to reflect on is, if you think about all the high-income countries that actually have made a lot of progress, one of the things they have invested heavily on is research and development. That is because there is a lot of socioeconomic benefits that comes with that. It creates high-value jobs. It attracts foreign direct investments. It brings, for example, the role of private sector comes in. And that's an area where when we have meetings like this organized by KEMRI, we want to explore those questions together. Because we don't do that, then we are going to be laggards when it comes to innovation and discoveries all clinical trials, all implementation of those. And I think it's good to have the media actually highlighting some of these things because a lot of the discussions very rarely do not focus on the role of science and innovation and how it can be transformative to the country itself.
Today's conversation, I think most of the day was around vaccine manufacturing in the continent, but more specifically in Kenya. So why is this conversation important? So if you were sitting in that plenary, you heard that we are importing 99% of what we need of vaccines. So that's not sustainable. So it's a situation that needs to be reversed. And it has to be reversed because of maybe, let's say two reasons, although there are many others. So one, of course, is what Prof said here. In case of an outbreak, then we are exposed, and we had that experience in during COVID. The second part is also that it's part of our health system resilience. It's not sustainable to continue importing childhood immunizations for our children, while in essence we need to build capacity. And he has also mentioned about Gavi. The financing system is changing. So the question is for Kenya Biovacs. Kenya Biovacs then provides that opportunity for the country. It's one of those real steps by the country to build capacity to actually manufacture vaccines in the country. So as Prof has already mentioned, Kenya Biovacs was set up post-COVID, and it's on a journey for the country to produce vaccines. So in terms of how you produce vaccines, you move, there's a value chain. So you move from a value chain, so you start from the simplest and you move all the way to R&D. So in our case, we are starting from fill and finish. So you have the product, you bring a drug product, you package, and you into doses, and you make it available. Of course, under stringent regulatory conditions. So it's not an easy process. It's also expensive. We are talking about $50 million to put together a fill and finish line to produce these products.
We were founded with a mission to discover, develop and deliver vaccines to low and middle income countries, mostly those unincentivized vaccines that big pharma might not have really an interest to develop, yet afflict most of the low and middle income countries. And for that reason, we are uniquely placed to be able to operate across the value chain from discovery all the way to access. We have two regional offices, one in Europe, in Sweden, and another regional office, one in Rwanda, here on the continent. And as you heard, we are in the final stages of establishing an office in Kenya. But the importance of that office as well will be the science project office for our vaccine projects on the continent. And it's the word we call it AVEC project office as well, Kenya Country and AVEC project office, which stands for Advanced Vaccine End-to-End Capabilities. As rightly pointed out by Dr. Rono, I think if you have to have a vaccine to go to the market, it has to go through the entire value chain. From discovery, you have to do preclinical work, which is sometimes testing on animals, lab science, you have to do the clinical development, testing in the human beings, and of course you have to equally gather data that helps you know where the burden is. You work with Pharmacy and Poisons Board, for instance, for regulatory affairs, because it has to be licensed, and all the way to WHO, so that it can be pre-qualified for it to be able to be procured by Gavi and UNICEF to be able to be distributed. On the continent, we have projects in 23 African countries, and one of them, I think, is here in Kenya, where we have projects across. And then we also work with Kenya Biovacs in terms of their program for vaccine development. We have worked with KEMRI for more than a decade. And you may recall there's a vaccine called typhoid vaccine that was introduced last year. Part of that burden data that was generated to guide its scientific advisory group of experts at WHO to make the decision to introduce it, KEMRI was part of the entity that was able to generate that data. Now, one of the vaccines that we've been able to develop is the oral cholera vaccine, which was developed in-house with technology transfer to industry, because we don't have that mandate to be able to manufacture. But one critical point I'd want to point out there is that I think when you have an IP, I mean, it's a lot of work. If you're in the plenary and you heard what Dr. Kariuki said, is that during the discovery phase, you invest a lot of money. So at the end of the day, once you develop your IP, you need to find a way how to recoup it. Hence the pharmaceutical entity sometimes the pricing to be able to return on investment. But one thing we normally do is that for us to be able to do technology transfer to industry, there has to be that commitment that that industry to be able to produce at cost to be available for global health. So for instance, the oral cholera vaccine that we developed, we did a technology transfer to a couple of industries. One of them is U Biologics in South Korea that currently actually supplies more than 90% of the global stockpile. So one of the things I think we are looking forward to is like, for burden diseases that afflict the continent, how then do we work with partners? And that is very critical in terms of partnership to ensure that can we that have that end-to-end production on the continent.